Sakhaya Shurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayham Dadanti Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashat Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today we'll do chapter 8, questions by King Parikshit. So these questions which Parikshit Maharaj asked in this chapter, it gives Sukdev Goswami a chance to speak on Chatushloki Bhagavatam, to introduce Chatushloki Bhagavatam and 10 subjects of Bhagavatam because of these questions. So these questions we can categorize like Parikshit Maharaj asked, please instruct me about the teachings of Narad Muni. So you can write this is the verse number 1. Then second, please instruct me about the personality of Godhead. So these are the verses 8, 10 and 17. Then he asked, please instruct me about the individual living entities. So this is verse 7, 16 and 21. Okay. And then he asked about, please instruct me about material nature. So this is text 11, 15, 16 and 19. Then please instruct me about time. So it's same, Ishwar, Jeev, Prakriti, Karma, Kal. So text 12, 13 and 17. And then please instruct me about karma. This is text 14. Then one more thing he asked, please instruct me about dharma, religious principles. There is text 18, 20 and 21. Instruct me about dharma, religious principles. Means he is asking question about dharma. So these are the questions. So I'm just he's asking that, oh Lord Brahma, please, I want to know about these things about dharma. So means, or please instruct me on dharma. So these are the verses 18, 20 and 21. Okay. So we'll see this, how it was. So the chapter breakdown, this verse 1 to 6, Maharaj Parikshit glorifies Srimad Bhagavatam. Questions. So his answers, then Brahmaji gives in chapter 9 and 10 by speaking Chatushloki Bhagavatam and 10 subjects of Bhagavatam. Actually, his questions are based on 10 subjects only, but he's speaking in this. Okay. So verses 1 to 6, Maharaj Parikshit glorifies Srimad Bhagavatam, and verses 7 to 29, Maharaj Parikshit's question. Okay. So now verse 1, Maharaj Parikshit will glorify. He'll ask, verse 1 is, 1 minute. In verse 1, Maharaj Parikshit will ask about what is the teachings, how he Narad Muni taught about Bhagavatam after hearing from Brahma. I want to know. Okay. Now text 1. Rajo Uvacha Brahmana Chodito Brahman Gunakhyane Gunasya Cha Yasmai Yatha Praha Narado Deva Darshana. Can somebody read this translation?
King Parikshit inquired from Sukdev Goswami, how did Narad Muni, whose hearers are as fortunate as those instructed by Lord Brahma, explain the transcendental qualities of the Lord, who is without material qualities, and before whom did he speak?
Yes, so Ma- Parikshit Maharaj, after inquiring how Narada Muni, how he preached the Lord glories to whom he speak about the glories of the Lord who is without quality. So Jiva Goswami answers in various coming cantos what Narada Muni speaks, that Sukdev Goswami is explained. Now Narada Muni's interaction with Dhruva Maharaj, then this Mrigari hunter, all these things he's explaining. So Jiva Goswami answered that the various canto where Narada Muni speaks is there. Somebody read the purport, first paragraph.
Devarsi Narad was directly instructed by Brahmaji, who was also directly instructed by the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the instructions imparted by Narad to his various disciples are as good as those of the Supreme Lord. That is the way of understanding Vedic knowledge. It comes down from the Lord by disciplic succession, and this transcendental knowledge is distributed to the world by this descending process. There is no chance, however, to receive the Vedic knowledge from mental speculators. Therefore, wherever Narad Muni goes, he represents himself as authorized by the Lord, and his appearance is as good as that of the Supreme Lord. Similarly, the disciplic succession, which strictly follows the transcendental instruction, is the bona fide chain of disciplic succession. And the test for such bona fide spiritual masters is that there should be no difference between the instruction of the Lord originally imparted to his devotee and that which is imparted by the authority in the line of disciplic succession. How Narad Muni distributed the transcendental knowledge of the Lord will be explained in later cantos.
Later cantos. So Prabhupada, he takes this from Jiva Goswami. Like Jiva Goswami says, then later cantos, whatever Narad Muni interaction with other people, devotees. So that is the answer for this question. So like there is a chit potency, because this parampara, if you learn everything from parampara, right from the parampara, there are 4 sampradayas, then it has potency. Because if every parampara carries the chit potency. Like example, if I have a copper wire, if it is not connected to electricity, it will not flow. So anybody, whoever is, if he is not connected to the parampara, then whatever he's speaking, the potency will not flow from him. There will be no change in his consciousness. Because further verses, Parikshit Maharaj says the Krishna Katha is so glorious. Even a non-devotee, Prabhupada writes in the purport also, even the non-devotee sits and just hear, still he gets more benefit from if he is hearing from a bona fide source. So how these acharyas, because they are from spiritual world, so they know because this world is a reflection of spiritual world, they know the original. If somebody know the original, they can explain the reflection very nicely. But if somebody is in within the reflection, what he'll explain? So they know the spiritual, therefore they can easily explain this 1/4 or reflected world. They can easily explain. Okay, now verse 2 to 6, Parikshit Maharaj glorifies Krishna Katha and process of Shravan. Text 2. Etad viditam ichhami tatvam tatva vidambara harer adbhuta viryasya kathaloka sumangala.
Sumangala. The king said, I wish to know narrations concerning the Lord who possesses wonderful potencies are certainly auspicious for living beings in all planets.
You can read the purport.
Purport. Srimad Bhagavatam, which is full of narrations of the activities of the Supreme Lord, is auspicious for all living beings residing in every planet. One who takes it as belonging to a particular sect is certainly mistaken. Srimad Bhagavatam is certainly a very dear scripture for all the devotees of the Lord, but it is auspicious even for the non-devotees also because it explains that even the non-devotees hovering under the spell of material energy can be delivered from such clutches if they hear the narration of the Srimad Bhagavatam with devotion and attention from the right source representing the Lord by disciplic succession.
Yeah, from the right source, because If you don't hear from the right source, there will be no change, because the spiritual potency which is flowing through the parampara, you will not get. Like Baldev Vidyabhushan quotes this from Padma Puran. Sampradayana vihine ya mantrasthe nishphalamata. Atau kalo bhavishyanti chatvara sampradaya. There are 4 sampradayas: Sri Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, Kumara Sampradaya, and Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So one who studies under these sampradayas, so they get proper, they are, because the spiritual potency is there, they can feel the change in their consciousness. And in translation, it is always, various times it is said, Lord who possesses wonderful potencies, Lord with potencies. So our philosophy is Tat Shakti Parinamva. There is a concept of Shakti. If you remove Shakti, then how Lord created this world? No one can answer. Like Christians have their concept. Lord created this world from ex nihilo, from nothing. God created this world from nothing. So they have this thing. So you cannot explain this. But we say this world is a transformation of energies of the Lord. Tat means Lord. Tat Shakti Parinama. Transformation of Lord's energy. So he wanted to know how Lord is wonderfully acting. So he'll ask those questions. Okay, text 3. Katayasva Mahabhaga Yataham Akhilatmani Krishna Nevishya Nisangam Manastyakshe Kalevaram.
O greatly fortunate Sukdev Goswami, please continue narrating Srimad Bhagavatam so that I can place my mind upon the Supreme Soul, Lord Krishna, and being completely freed from material qualities, thus relinquish the body.
Yes. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Parikshit here is saying that he has already given up the kingdom. Parikshit has already given up. So he's freed from material all qualities. So then he can easily place, because his mind have no other things to, get attached to. So he can easily put his mind towards Krishna, concentrate his mind towards Krishna. So Prabhupada writes, unless we are free from material qualities, then only we can focus our mind on Krishna. Otherwise, it's very difficult. Can somebody read the purport from to be fully engaged first?
To be fully engaged in hearing the transcendental narration described in the text of Srimad Bhagavatam means to constantly associate with the Supreme Soul, Sri Krishna, and to constantly associate with Supreme Lord Krishna means to be liberated from the qualities of matter. Lord Krishna like the sun, and material contamination is like darkness. As the presence of sun dissipates darkness, constant engagement in the association of the Lord Sri Krishna frees one from the contamination of the material qualities. Contamination by the material qualities is the cause of repeated birth and death, and liberation from the material qualities is transcendence. Maharaj Parikshit was now a realized soul by the secret of liberation through the grace of Sukdev Goswami. For the latter had informed the king that the highest perfection of life is to be remembrance of Narayan.
Yes. So it is said the qualities of matter. What are the qualities of matter? Ignorance, passion, and goodness. So one is free from this. So then by understanding yourself as servant of Krishna, then one can easily remember Krishna if you're free from these qualities of material modes. And further, Prabhupada also write, it is a duty of a saint to hear Srimad Bhagavatam from a self-realized soul and not to be duped by professional men. Previous paragraph he says about hearing from professional men, though these professional people, they speak on Bhagavatam for getting material benefit. Somebody may hear they get material benefit, but they not get the benefit how Maharaj Parikshit got. So he's saying, Prabhupada is writing, one should continue such hearing till the end of one's life. Such means from a self-realized soul, not the professional men who recite Bhagavatam for money. End of one's life, so that one can actually have transcendental association with the Lord, thus be liberated simply by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. It's like we say, no, Vedic literatures are state specific. What is your consciousness? You perceive in that way. So if you are for the Lord and for the devotion and hearing from bona fide source, then you get the benefit. But if outside people like materialistic people, they just want to hear Krishna's 10th canto pastime and sit and so they don't get any proper benefit. Though some material benefit, proper right? This undoubtedly such audience hearing Bhagavatam from professional men can derive some material benefit as they desire, but does not mean such a pretense of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam for a week, like this in a Bhagavad Sapta, is as good as hearing from Maharaj Parikshit. So one should hear from a self-realized soul. Okay, text 4. Shanvata Shaddaya Nityam Ghranatascha Swache Stitam Kalenati Dirghena Bhagavan Vishwateridhi.
Persons who hear Srimad Bhagavatam regularly and are always taking the matter very seriously will have the personality of Goddess Sri Krishna manifested in their hearts within a short time.
So means here means Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur means after hearing he chants, and without great effort Lord spontaneously enters into the heart. So hearing and chanting also gives rise to remembering. So Jiva Goswami is writing, he's stating that the power of hearing is shown. By power of hearing, when you hear properly, then you desire to chant his glories. Like some outside people, when they hear the glories of some celebrity, so they want to tell others when they hear, because similarly, when devotee hears the glories of the Lord, he also chants the glories of the Lord. When he hears about the Lord, he chants the glories of the Lord and remember, oh, Lord is such a great personality, and like this. So Prabhupada write in the purport, cheap devotees or materialistic devotees of the Lord are very much desires to see the Lord personally without meeting the requisite qualifications. Such third-grade devotees should know well that the material attachment and seeing the Lord face to face cannot go together. It is not such a mechanical process that the professional Bhagavatam reciters can do the job on behalf of third-grade materialistic pseudo-devotee. Professional men are useless in this connection because they are neither self-realized nor interested in liberation of the audience. They are just to maintain the family, money, gain money to maintain the family. They are simply interested in maintaining material establishment of family attachment and earning some material benefits out of the profession. So like there were many Gita before Prabhupada. Any Gita other than Vaishnava Gita, Vaishnava Acharya's Gita, like Ramanuja's Gita, Madhvacharya's or Prabhupada. Other than that, Gita written by any outsider who are non-devotee, their consciousness goes into that writing, because there's once devotee showed us in our meeting, counselor meeting, about anomalous behavior of water. So once he gave example, like scientist kept a glass of water, everyone, 10-15 scientists, and they were discussing about nuclear bomb. And because of their consciousness, the water became poisonous and they all were admitted to hospital. So consciousness affects the elements. So when these people, professional people, they speak, it's all affecting the environment, the books written by them, their songs sung by them. Like, once
Their YouTube videos.
Jagdish Singh also, I don't know, he sing. But Gaurang Pro was saying in the class. He was singing, he was drinking and singing like this. Aisi lagi lagan, like this. Gaurang Pro was saying, so I'm just repeating his word when he came, so where previously before. So if you hear from a devotee, any devotee, means they is doing his sadhana, generally if you hear from pure devotee, it is very good. So he Prabhupada writes further, Maharaj Parikshit personally recommends that one hear Srimad Bhagavatam regularly, not even 7 days, but regularly, always by one's own effort, and with serious devotion also. That will help one to see the Lord Sri Krishna manifested in one's heart with no time. Okay. In verses 5 to 6 coming, now specifically declares means of elevation by hearing Krishna Katha, purifies the heart so that the devotee experience Krishna's lotus feet therein. Verse 5 to 6. Okay, text 5. Pravishta karna randhrena Svanam bhava saroruham
Bhavasarorum
dhanoti shamalam Krishna
Krishna.
salilasya yatha sarat. Can somebody read?
The sound incarnation of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Soul, Srimad Bhagavatam, enters into the heart of a self-realized devotee, sits on the lotus flower of his loving relationship, and thus cleanses the dust of material association, such as lust, anger, and hankering. Thus, it acts like autumnal rains upon pools of muddy water.
Yes, so it is said hearing about Krishna. So Krishna's one more name is called Shutikshita. One can be seen through the ears. So we can see Krishna by hearing about him. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, that Paramatma, though neutral, still, it means Krishna enters in the heart of the Jiva. So Prabhupada says, for us, the Paramatma is two-handed. Somebody asked Prabhupada, the Prabhupada says, my Paramatma is Duvi Bhuja, two-handed. Because we know who is this Paramatma is. It's actually Krishna. For the devotee, the Paramatma is Krishna himself. He said the Krishna enters when somebody hears about, enters the ears, Krishna enters to the ears of the Jiva. And then he purifies the Jiva and enters into the heart of the Jiva. Okay. Can somebody read the first paragraph of Prabhupada?
It is said that a single pure devotee of the Lord can deliver all the fallen souls of the world. Thus, one who is actually in the confidence of a pure devotee like Narada or Sukdev Goswami, and thus is empowered by one's spiritual master, as Narada was by Brahmaji, can not only deliver himself from the clutches of Maya or illusion, but can deliver the whole world by his pure and empowered devotional strength. The comparison to the autumnal rain that falls on muddy reservoirs of water is very appropriate. During the rainy season, all the waters of the river become muddy, but in the month of July, August, the autumn season, when there is a slight rainfall, the muddy waters of the rivers all over the world become at once clear. By addition of some chemical, a small reservoir of water like that of a metropolitan waterworks tank can be cleared. But by such a tiny effort, it is not possible to clear up all the reservoirs of water like the rivers. A powerful, pure devotee of the Lord, however, can deliver not only his personal self, but also many others in his association. In other words, the cleansing of the polluted heart by other methods, like the culture of empiric knowledge or mystic gymnastics, can simply cleanse one's own heart. But devotional service to the Lord is so powerful that it can cleanse the hearts of people in general by the devotional service of the pure empowered devotee. A true representative of the Lord like Narad, Sukdev Goswami, Lord Chaitanya, the six Goswamis, and later Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, etc., can deliver all people by their empowered devotional
Yes.
service.
So if a pure devotee comes, he'll deliver many people, from the clutches of Maya. So Prabhupada gives a name. So 12 Mahajans and this, our Acharya Prabhupada and his guru and his father Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So these great acharyas, six Goswamis, they can deliver people. They written books also, many books. Okay, now text 6. Dhautatma Purusha Krishna Padamulam na munchati Mukta Sarva Parikleshaha Pantasva Saranam Yatha.
A pure devotee of the Lord, whose heart has once been cleansed by the process of devotion service, never relinquishes the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, for they fully satisfy him, as a traveler is satisfied at home after a troubled journey.
Yeah, so if Prabhupada writes, one who's perfectly cleans never quits devotional service at any time. Then he gave example in discharge of such devotional service as ordered by Brahmaji to Narad in preaching of Srimad Bhagavatam. Sometimes a representative of the Lord engaged in preaching work meets various so-called difficulties. This was exhibited by Lord Nityananda when he delivered two fallen souls, Jagai and Madai. And similarly, Lord Jesus Christ was crucified by non-believers. But such difficulties are very gladly suffered by the devotees in preaching, because in such activities, although apparently very severe, the devotees of the Lord feel transcendental pleasure because the Lord is satisfied. So devotees are, Prabhupada once write that devotees are more merciful than the Lord. In relation to this verse of Bhagavad Gita, he spoke in the lecture 18.67. Idam te nata pakshaya na bhakta kadachana na shashusve vachan na cha ma abhiyosviti. Means one should not explain this science to non-devotees who are not austere, not devoted, who are not following devotional service. Is in 18.67. So then why does this is instruction of Gita, then why does devotee preach? Devotees are more merciful than the Lord. Prabhupada writes in that lecture. He says that devotees know the heart of the Lord. Lord clearly saying, don't tell about myself to non-devotees, those who are not austere. But devotee takes the risk to preach about the Lord. So therefore, Prabhupada mercifully, gives, if some non-devotee wants to study Gita, mercifully writes in the introduction, Prabhupada, at least for studying Gita, theoretically you accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then he see what he has to say. Beforehand only you will deny Krishna, then you will not understand the Gita. So Prabhupada gives the green ticket, like we get green ticket to US. So Prabhupada gives a green ticket to understand Bhagavad Gita. So green ticket. Okay. Now text 7, she talks about Parikshit Maharaj want to know about the individual living entities. So verse 7 to 22, Parikshit Maharaj will going to ask series of questions. And by this question, Brahmaji gets opportunity to speak about chapter 9 Chatushloki Bhagavatam and chapter 10 the 10 subjects of Bhagavatam through this question. Now which question speaks what, we'll see. Okay, now text 7, Parikshit Maharaj asks about living entity. Yat adhatu mato brahman deharambosya dhatu bihi yadrichaya hetu nava bhavanto janate yata.
O learned Brahmana, the transcendental spirit soul is different from the material body. Does he acquire the body accidentally or by some cause? Will you kindly explain this, for it is known to you?
Yes. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, Parikshit Maharaj Parikshit, being a typical devotee, is not only satisfied by confirming the importance of hearing Bhagavatam from the representative of Brahmaji by disciplic succession, but he is still more anxious to establish the philosophical basis of Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam is the science of Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as such, all questions that may arise in the mind of a serious student must be cleared by the statements of authority. So authority here means the 12 Mahajans and the Parampara line. And further Prabhupada writes, a person on path of devotional service may inquire from his spiritual master all about spiritual position of God and living beings. So from Bhagavad Gita as well as from the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is known that qualitatively the Lord and living beings are one. Living being in condition. So this Prabhupada is giving the point about the living entity, difference between Lord and living entity. So what is philosophy? Prabhupada writes in Bhagavad Gita 7.2 purport. One who knows what is matter, what is spirit, and the source of both of them. That is philosophy. If somebody asks, once one Prabhupada disciple was there, so one Jaimini scholar came and asked him like this in language, what's your skeleton? Means our body is based on skeleton. So what is the skeleton of Gaudiya Vaishnavism? Then he quoted one book of Bhaktivinoda Thakur called Tattva Sutra. So Tattva Sutra has 5 topics. Each topic has 50 sutras and 5 topics of Gita. Ishvara, Jeev, Prakriti, Karma, Kal. Ishvara 50 sutras, Jiva 50 sutras. Okay, he spoke that. But what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is the same thing. So that first is matter, spirit, controller. It comes to 5 topics. How? These 5 topics are 5 topics of Upanishad. Like what is matter, what is spirit, and what is controller. So controller means it will, all these 3 will come to 5. What 5 topics of Upanishad? Any Upanishad you study, either 2 topics, either 3 topics, either this 5 complete 5 topics will be there. So what are the topics? First is what is the nature of Brahman or the Supreme Lord. Second is what is the nature of living entity. Third is what is the nature of spirit soul. And the fourth is what is the sadhana. And the fifth is what is sadhya, the living entities achieve the status in liberation. So this is the 5 topics of Upanishad. And this 5 topics comes to the 10 topics. That is our Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. That is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's 10 Dashamul Tattva. So you all know. Now 5 topics, how it goes to 10. First is what is the nature of Brahman? There are 3 aspects. The Krishna is the supreme absolute truth. He is the source of all potency. He is the source of all rasa. So what is the nature of living entity? There are 3 aspects of living entity. The living entity is conditioned, the living entity is liberated, and living entity is servant of Hari. And then the nature of material nature. So material nature is simultaneous, one and different from the Lord. Okay. And then how many it happens? 3, 3, 6, 7, 7. Then 8 is the process of devotional service. Then all these things can be known by practicing devotional service. And after knowing this, what goal we achieve? The 9th is the love of Krishna. And all these things where it is given, the 10th is Vedas are the source of all knowledge. So this is the structure of our Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. If these 10 points are clear, then everything is almost clear. Almost. Okay. So further Prabhupada, in the further purport, this inquiry is essential for immunity to all kinds of offenses on the path of devotional service. Even if one is fixed in devotional service like Maharaj Parikshit, he must still inquire from realized spiritual master all about this. So one should always try to learn more and more. Whenever we say we know, then the doors get closed. So we learn from everyone, all the devotees, big pure devotees, everyone. Okay. Now text, now verses coming 8, 10 and 17. A lot Parikshit Maharaj asks about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 8, 10 and 17. Now in text 8, he wants to know the difference between the Lord's universal bodies and the bodies of living entity. How the Lord's bodies made. He was asking 288. Okay. Asidyat udarat padmam lok samsthana lakshanam yavan ayam vai purusha yatyava yavahi pratak tavanasav iti proktaha samsthavyavan iva.
If the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whose abdomen the lotus stem sprouted, is possessed of a gigantic body according to his own caliber and measurement, then what is the specific difference between the body of the Lord and those of common living entity?
Yes. So he's asking how Brahmaji, because you have seen the Lord, so how the body of Lord is composed, it's the same as the hands and legs, like, because from the universal body, the living entity gets the body. So how it is? So Sridhar Swami says, if Supreme Lord has material body, then how is that the devotees become liberated by simply serving and worshipping material body of the Supreme Lord? Maharaj Parikshit also asked if there is any difference between Lord's body and bodies of conditioned souls. Because Brahmaji saw that, Brahmaji got from the universal form. all this. So he's asking, what is the form of the Lord? Is this that in the made of this universal form, or there is something special? So can somebody read Prabhupada's purport?
One should note that how Maharaj Parikshit intelligently put questions before his spiritual master for scientific understanding of the transcendental body of the Lord. It has been described in many places before this that the Lord assumed a gigantic body, namely that of Karnodakshay Vishnu, from whose hair pores innumerable universes were generated. The body of Garbhodakshay Vishnu is described as a sporting the lotus stem within which all the planets of the universe remain. And at the top of the stem is the lotus flower on which Lord Brahma is born. In the creation of the material world, the Supreme Lord undoubtedly assume a gigantic body, and living entity also get bodies, big or small, according to the necessity. For example, an elephant get a gigantic body according to its need, and so also an ant gets its body according to its need. Similarly, if the personality of Godhead assume a gigantic body to accommodate the universes or the planets of the particular universe, there is no difference in the principle of assuming or accepting a particular type of body in terms of necessity. A living being and the Lord cannot be distinguished simply by the difference in the magnitude of the body. So the answer depends on the specific significance of the body of the Lord as distinguished from the body of a common living being.
So God, Prabhupada is clearly saying that if, because Brahmaji came from the universal form, then he's asking that if Lord assumes this body and is giving body to every living entity according to its magnitude, according to its size, since Lord also has the similar body, something different, he's asking. Okay, text 9. Aja shijjati bhutani bhutatma yad anugrahat तदर्शयेन तद्रूपम नाभि पद्मा समुद्भवम sorry नाभि पद्मा समुद्भवः. Somebody read.
Brahma, who was not born of material source, but of the lotus flower, coming out of the navel in the abdomen of the Lord, is the creator of all those who are materially born. Of course, by the grace of the Lord, Brahma was able to see the form of the Lord.
Yes, so he's saying, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes that though Brahma, is unborn, he appeared from the lotus navel. So he's saying, then he's saying that you are appeared from the Lord, you know the Lord, you are able to see the Lord. So I want to know how it is, how the Lord created this. Okay, and what is the form of the Lord? Okay, can somebody read the purport?
The first living creature, Brahma, is called Ajaha because he did not take his birth from the womb of a mother materially born. He was directly born from the bodily expansion of the lotus flower of the Lord. Thus, it is not readily understandable whether the body of the Lord and that of Brahma are of the same quality or different. This must also be clearly understood. One thing is, however, certain. Brahma was completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord because after his birth, he could create living beings by the Lord's grace only, and he could see the form of the Lord. Whether the form seen by Brahma is of the same quality as that of Brahma is a bewildering question. And Maharaj Parikshit wanted to get clear answers from Srila Shukadev
So
Goswami.
is the Brahma's body same as the same quality made of Lord? What it is, he wants to know. Okay, now again Parikshit Maharaj in verses 10 and 17, he wanted to know about personality of Godhead. He says, I want to know about how super soul is there in the heart of living beings, who is a lot of cosmic energies. So these super soul there are three types of super soul: Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and Shridakshay Vishnu. Okay, will the shloka. Sachapi yatra purusho Vishvasthiti udbhavapyah muktatma mayam mayeshah Sheti sarva guhashayah.
Please also explain the personality of Godhead who lies in every heart as the super soul and as the Lord of all energies, but is untouched by his external energy.
Yes. So you wanted to know, Vishwanath Chakravarti says that no, he asks now a different question. He says that please describe who Lord who glances over Prakriti, though he's a Lord of Maya, the master of Maya, means these three Purushas. He does not touch her since she is her external energy. So how? What is the no, he wanted to know. So can somebody read the purport?
Purport. Undoubtedly, the form of the Lord who was seen by Brahma must be transcendental. Otherwise, how could he simply look upon the creative energy without being touched? It is understood also that the same Purusha lies in the heart of every living entity. This also requires proper explanation.
Yes. So now coming text 11, he wanted to know about material nature because he spoke how Lord is untouched by Maya. Text 11, he wanted to know about material nature, the position of planetary system within the gigantic body of Virat. So text 11 coming, text 11, 15 and 16, it falls under Visarga. He wanted to know one of the 10 topics of Bhagavatam. Okay, and last, the text 19, last part, sorry, not last verse of this, but last shloka has 4 parts. The last part of the text 19, text 19 falls under the subject matter of Sarga. So 11, 15, 16 talks about Visarga, and text 19 talks about Sarga, creation done by Vishnu. Okay, so we'll read text 11. Okay, Purushavya, Purushavayavairlokah Sapalah Purvakalpitah Loker Amushava Yavaha Sapalair iti Shushrama.
O learned Ramana, it was formally explained that all the planets of the universe, with their respective governors, are situated in the different parts of the gigantic body of the Virat Purusha. I have also heard that the different planetary systems themselves constitute the gigantic body of the Virat Purusha. But what is their actual position? Will you please explain that?
Yes. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says how the Parikshit Maharaj is framing, like, the Parikshit Maharaj asked the question about, the planets were imagined and the limbs of the Lord in text Canto 2, chapter 5, verse 36. And the limbs were of Purusha were equated with planets starting in Bhagavatam, Canto 2, 126. Then Parikshit Maharaj saying, I heard from my mouth more. I've heard this from my mouth. Then he said, I want to know more of details about how the Jiva is controlled by the Lord and the second Purusha situated in the universe. 288. Then he again asked about Mahatattva, Canto 2, chapter 8, verse 10, and about the third Purusha situated in all living beings. Canto 2, chapter 8, again verse number 10. And then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quotes one verse from Satvata Tantra. Vishnu stutrini rupani purushakhani ado vidu ekam tu mahata shrishtir dvitiyam anda samstitam tritiyam sarva bhutastam tani gyatva muchyate. The three forms of Vishnu are called Purushas. The first is the creator Mahatattva, the second is situated in the universe, and third is situated in all living entities. One who knows them becomes liberated. So how will become liberated? Now we know. So in the creation, we can see these three Vishnus. The ingredients for this table, chair, and the whatever flowers is from Mahavishnu. And the table has this attractiveness, the chair, the floor, whatever attractiveness we get attracted to, or the rose, it is from Garbhodakshay Vishnu. And they are made and form, like rose is growing because of Shirodakshay Vishnu. So like this you can see, because we know these three are partial manifestation of Krishna. So they have the specific roles in the universe. So by seeing them, it can become an impetus or uddipan for remembering Krishna. At least we can remember Krishna rather than not remembering Krishna. We can change our back. Prabhupada writes, from seeing the universe, we can bring back our consciousness towards Krishna. Okay. So Vishwanath Thakur again writes, this question indicates that Sukhdev Goswami should tell how the form of the Lord that Brahma saw is distinct from the Jiva. How this form with Brahma saw is not the same as the Jiva has, it's something special. Okay. So text 12 to 14, it talks about Kala and Karma. Please, now Parikshit Maharaj is saying 12 and 13 about time, Kal. Okay. Yavan kalpo vikalpo va yatha kalo numiyate bhuta bhavya bhavat shabda
Bhutabhavya bhava shabdaha
ayurmanam cha yat satah.
ayurmanam cha yatsataha. Also, please explain the duration of time between creation and annihilation, and that of other subsidiary creations, as well as the nature of time indicated by the sound of past, present, and future. Also, please explain the duration and measurement of life of the different living beings known as the demigods, the human beings, etc., in different planets of the universe.
Yeah, so he wanted to know what are the subdivisions of time, subtle, Sridhar Swami says subtle, gross, and how the time is divided. So there's a chapter now, calculation of time by movement of an atom. So how he want to know from the Brahmalok, right from the atom, what are the time, how time is divided, and plus the lifespans of, what is the lifespan of Pitra, what is the lifespans of human and Devtas. So it is all there in 5th canto. So like sometimes it is said, no, in 2nd canto, I don't know which, that the universe is 7 spans of hands of Brahma. Actually, the universe is 7 spans. You know what is that? 7 span of Brahma. Ek span is this much. It's a ek, do, three, 1, 2, 3. Like the universe is the 7 spans of Brahma. Brahma's 7 spans is a whole universe. How? No. See, we also have 7 span. Right from the toe to knee, it is 2. Then from knee above waist, it is 2, 4. Then 4, and from here to it is 6. Then here it is 7. So it is 7 spans. So Brahma's, he's conscious of whole universe. No? So it has 7 spans. So we also have 2, 2, 4, 2, 2, 4, 6, 7. Got? Though. Roji, like I said, I was also not knowing. Somebody told me, see, you do like this from the, 1, 2 here. Then these are the joints. So 2 here, then 2 here, 6, and this is 7. Cool. So Brahma's body's universe is 7 spans of Brahma. Okay, Prabhupada, right? Past, present, and future are different features of time to indicate the duration of life for the universe and its paraphernalia, including different living beings in different parts. So time dilates in different universe. There are different time. Presence is mode of goodness. Future is mode of passion, and past is mode of ignorance. So time is divided in various ways. Okay, text 13. Kalasya nugatir yatu lakshate nivibhriti api yavatya karma gatayo yadrishver dvijas sattama.
O purest of the Brahmanas, please also explain the cause of the different durations of time, both short and long, as well as the beginning of time following the course of action.
Yes. So short and long means Sridhar Swami says subtle and gross time. So he wanted to know about the time, how it is acting. Gross means which is perceivable, and subtle means perceivable. Every object is getting, we can see, somebody is dying. So this is in this way. By time is perceivable by its action, but not the subtle time. It's very difficult. Those who are beyond our time, like demigods and all, their time is different than ours. So time acts to every object in different way. So time acts in 3 is in the calculation of time to the, I just forgot. It's in the calculation of time by moment of an atom, how time acts in 3 phases. Okay, now text 14. He wants to know about karma. So this covers Sthan and Manvantara. Okay. Yasmin karma sama vayo yatha yonopagriyate gunanam guninam chaiva parinamam abhishatam.
Then again, kindly describe how the proportionate accumulation of the reactions resulting from the different modes of material nature act upon the desiring living being, promoting or degrading him among the different species of life, beginning from the demigods down to the most insignificant creatures.
Yes, so he wants to know how transformation of gunas refers to the body of devatas. Means any jivas, by the different gunas, they achieve different destinations. So I want to know all the actions and reactions of all this. Prabhupada writes in the purport, the action and reaction of all works in the material modes of nature, either in minute form or in the gigantic form, are accumulated. And thus, the result of such accumulated actions and reactions of karma or work being manifested in the same portion. How such actions and reaction takes place, what the different procedures are, in what proportion they act are all the subject matters of Parikshit inquiries from the great Brahmana Sukdev Goswami. And again, Prabhupada writes, even on every planet where we are now living, there are restrictions upon entrance of foreigners into the country where citizens are more prosperous. So means if somebody wants to go to heaven, Parikshit Maharaj is asking what action he should take, what he gets the reactions of particular actions. So example, Prabhupada is saying American government has many restrictions for entrance of foreigners from less prosperous countries. The reason is that Americans do not wish to share their prosperity with any foreigner who has not qualified himself as a citizen of America. Similarly, the same mentality is prevailing in every other planet where there are more intelligent living beings residing. The higher planetary living conditions are all of mode of goodness, and anyone desiring to enter higher planets like Sun, Moon, Venus must qualify thoroughly by activity in complete goodness. So next line, Parikshit's inquiries are the basis of proportionate actions of goodness. So which action they do, what destination they get, which qualify one in this planet to be promoted to the highest region of universe. Okay. Now text 15 and 16. Parikshit Maharaj want to know about the material nature. Okay. Bhuta patal kakub vyoma ग्रह नक्षत्र भूभृताम सरित समुद्र द्वीपानाम संभवस चैतत ओकसाम.
O best of the Brahmanas, please also describe how the creation of the globes throughout the universe, the four directions of the heaven, the sky, the planets, the stars, the mountains, the rivers, the seas, and the islands, as well as the different kinds of inhabitants takes place.
Yes. So creation of globe here means the earth. So earth, Bhumandal is also referred to earth. So therefore he speaks about Priyavat Maharaj's, how the Bhumandal was created, 7 oceans and 7 islands. Okay. So he talks about that. So this is Parikshit Maharaj questions about material nature. Now 16, some part 16, Parikshit Maharaj talks about he want to know about again material nature. Text 16 speaks about material nature as well as living entity. Okay. The living entity means the characteristic of great souls as well as the social order of life. Okay. So this part of living entities of different castes and order fall under Manvantara, the sixth subject of Bhagavatam. And the character and activities of great soul falls under Ishanu Katha. The rules of Manu is described in Manu Samhita. Prabhupada says Manu Samhita is a rule book for mankind. So one should follow. And Manu Samhita's translations, Prabhupada all given Bhagavatam purports. Exact. Like Prabhupada says, a woman should be protected by parents, when they grown up by their husband, and when they are elderly by their children. So this is a translation from Manu Samhita. So okay, text 16 about material nature and living entities. So Parikshit Maharaj wants to know. So it falls under Ishanu Katha as well as Manvantra. Pramanam andakoshasya bhaya bhayantara bhedata mahatam chanucharitam varnashrama vinishchaya.
Also, please describe the inner and outer space of the universe by specific divisions, as well as the character and the activities of the great souls, and also the characteristics of the different classification of the caste and the orders of social life.
Yeah, so Vishwanath Chaitanya Thakur said why he want to know the dimensions of universe, why it is necessary, because it's necessary for bhakti, because for the Aishwarya, one who knows the glories or an Aishwarya of the Lord, then he can appreciate his sweetness. In that fifth canto, when he starts about the dimensions of universe, in that purport, he wanted to see this universe, how Lord is creating this universe is so big, so wonderful. So you want to know if you, unless we understand the Aishwarya or the greatness of the Lord, then only we can appreciate its sweetness. And Varnashram rules mostly is applicable to mixed devotees. Not okay. Now we'll read what Prabhupada says. Can somebody read the first paragraph?
Parikshit Maharaj is a typical devotee of Lord Krishna, and as such, he is anxious to know the complete significance of the creation of the Lord. He want to know the inner and outer space of the universal form. It is quite fitting for a real searcher of knowledge to know all about this. Those who are of the opinion that the devotees of the Lord are satisfied with mere sentiments can find in the inquiries of Maharaj Parikshit good lesson as to how inquisitive a pure devotee is to know things in their true perfection. The modern scientist is unable to know about the inner space of the universal horizon and what to speak of the space which covers the universe.
Yeah, so Prabhupada writes that the devotees are not sentimental. They should know philosophy, they should know logic also. There are some devotee, they say why we should study logic. So Prabhupada says in one lecture, understand the gift of Lord Chaitanya through logic, then it becomes a vichar. Through logic means we take logic, we first accept scripture statement, then we use logic for understanding. So there are two types of logic. One is called prarartha nyaya, logic for presenting. And one is a swartha nyaya, logic for ourselves. So about prarartha nyaya, Prabhupada is given in Adi Leela chapter 7 verse 106. It talks about 5 steps: pratigya, hetu, udharan, upanayan, and nigamana. So in English it is called pratigya means thesis. Hetu means thesis or declaration. Hetu means reason. Example, you give example. And udharan means example. Upanayan means practical example. And nigamana means conclusion. For example, we say there is a fire on the mountain. The reason you give because there is a smoke. This is because by smoke you reason something. So example, wherever there is smoke, there is fire. Fire and smoke go together. Then practical example will say wood is burning. And the conclusion, wherever there is fire, there is a smoke. And you can use like this. If you say Pratigya, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then you give reason. Why? Because he has 6 opulence. Give example, when Krishna came on earth, he displayed all his 6 opulences. Then give practical example. All the rishis and sages, they observe, they could visualize the opulences of Krishna, and now also within this world, we can see the 6 opulences are manifested in different phases. Then you give conclusion. Vishnu Purana, Amsa 6, Adhyay 5, verse 47. Aishwaryasya samagrasya viryasya yashashaya jnano vairagyasya shandam bhaga itingal. So this argument is complete. Western argument has 3: premise 1, premise 2, and conclusion. Like there is a fire on the mountain, there is a smoke. So conclusion. So therefore there is fire on the mountain. So this is Vedic system and this is Western system. So this Vedic way of presenting this points you can very clear. Then again your conclusion becomes your one declaration. Then you go. And there is called, next is Swartha Anuman. One Anuman is actually all by Lord only in the scripture. Vyasdev uses this both in his Vedanta Sutra. Swartha Anuman means you have a declaration, Vishaya, subject. When you're studying, why for ourselves? When you're studying, there is a Vishaya. Then you have a doubt on that Vishaya. Okay. Krishna is referred to as Bhagavan. Then there is a doubt. The Bhagavan word is also referred to other people in scriptures. Like Shivji, Vishaya, Samshaya, and argument of oppositions. Some opposition party will say, okay, Shivji is also Bhagavan. Then Uttara Paksha, or you reply to that objection, and then you give conclusion. Because Bhagavan is referred to Lord Shiva also because Shiva possesses some qualities of Bhagavan. Prabhupada writes in the purport. So then you give a conclusion. No, Bhagavan means is referred to Krishna only, originally. Then like this. So this is the way for our Swarth Anuman, it is called, logic. And why? Because Prabhupada says, one should not be sentimental. See, Prabhupada lecture in, I just wondered, okay, I don't remember. One lecture he writes, 6/138, Srimad Bhagavatam, June 4, 1976, Los Angeles. I'll just read. You can open. Bhagavatam 6/138, June 4, 1976, Los Angeles. This is Prabhupada lecture on how a devotee should know philosophy. June 4, 1976. Here. I read, it starts from, this is a very nice challenge. Here, this is a very, can anybody read this loudly?
This is a very nice challenge. Suppose somebody, if you say that we are Krishna conscious persons. So one may challenge you. First of all, explain what do you know about Krishna. That is quite natural. If you do not know about Krishna, you have no right to say that I belong to the Krishna consciousness movement. You have no right to say. So your position is like that. Simply if you have a tilak and a kanti, that does not mean that you belong to the Krishna consciousness movement. Any cheater can do that. You must know the philosophy. If one challenges, you must reply. Therefore, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has sung a song indicating these cheaters. He says, Eito Eka Kalira Chela. He is a servant of Kali. What kind of Chela? Nake Tilak Golaya Mala. He has got a tilak and a galaya mala. Bas. That's all. He does not know what is the philosophy. If you do not know the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, if you simply mark your body with tilaka and kanti, then you are not proper servant. You are not qualified. So tilaka mala is necessary, just like a policeman. A bogus man, if he dressed like a policeman, he is not policeman. He must know what is the police law, criminal law, what is to be punished, who is not to be punished, and what is criminality, what is innocence. All this
thing he
must know.
So understand. So one should know devotees, and it's Prabhupada writes again more. There are so many references. One in Madhya Lila chapter 9 verse 49. Purport. Madhya Lila chapter 9 verse 49. The purport. There is its line start with those who are preachers in ISKCON. Here. Those who are read.
Those who are preachers in ISKCON will certainly meet many people who believe in intellectual arguments. Most of these people do not believe in the authority of the Vedas. Nevertheless, they accept intellectual speculation and argument. Therefore, the preachers of Krishna consciousness should be prepared to defeat others by argument, just as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did. In this verse, it is clearly said, Tarkai Khandila Prabhu, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu put forward such a strong argument that the Buddhists could not counter him to establish their cult.
Yes, so there is book on also arguments called Nyaya Sutras of Gautama, how the logic is built. So what Prabhupada writes in Adi Lila chapter 7 verse 106 purport, like presentation, Prarartha Anuman. This is a proper way of arguing. but there is improper way of arguing. So we should know, because when you meet outside people, they may not believe in scriptures. So how will you present? So there is a presentation, everything is there. So just in the purport, no, I just say, Prabhupada says the devotees of the Lord are not satisfied by mere sentiments. They know, they want to know, they should know much, very much things. Okay. Again, Prabhupada writes in the purport, Parikshit Maharaj is not satisfied only with material knowledge. Satisfied with only material knowledge. He is inquisitive about character and activities of the great souls, the devotees of the Lord. Because when we see their lives, how they are living, it gives a lot of inspiration.
But actually, nowadays, outside people, they talk completely based on logic and argument only. They completely deny the scriptures.
So therefore, Prabhupada says, no. So one should know false arguments also how to make. Like for example, when I was on the book table, some 10 years before, you were put book table as Shivaji. I am not saying I know so much thing, but some person came, the so-called that person. So they say, I want Veda. I said, see, Bhagavad Gita is fifth Veda. So then I told Chandogya Upanishad 6.1.5, 6. Itihasa Puranam Panchamam Vedam Uchyate. He was not listening. He said, मुझे चर्चा करना है वेद और कुरान में क्या है. So I said, okay. He said, in our first of all, he came and told me why you accept Krishna as a Supreme Lord. So then I opened the book, I showed him, see, Vyasdev right, Shri Bhagavan Vacha. What is the problem? He said, no, we accept him as prophet, Nabi. I said, okay, fine, no problem. You accept. So he wants to say that, So then he said, I want to discuss. He said, in our scriptures, it is written that the Lord said, let there be creation, and the creation happened. I said, your Lord has to say, but in our scripture, he said, the Lord glanced and the creation happened. Sa ikshita, tejo shijjita. Then he was arguing. Then he said, I know that you don't believe in the form of the Lord. In their scriptures, 24.35, it is written that God is light. He said, yes. Then open him. I opened Bhagavad Gita. I said, read this, 7.24. It's impersonal. You say God is impersonal. I said, read. Then he read. He read it loudly. He said, he said, avyaktam vyaktim apannam mannate mama buddhaya. Those who think I have come from that impersonal, they are fools. Just see. Because they call it impersonal. I said, you see. Then he got little weird and just disturbed. Then I told him, okay, read again. Chapter 12, verse 1. Arjuna asked question, who is the superior worshipper? Those who worship the personal form or those who worship the impersonal form? Then he read. So he read the answer, that Krishna said, those who worship my personal form, they are superior. So then he said, no, I don't accept. I said, I also don't accept yours. If you want to discuss, there must be a common ground. I quote my scripture, you quote your scripture and accept.
I am saying that only, that just like you defeated him based on scripture.
I didn't defeat, but he just walked away.
What you explained him based on Shastra, na? That only way we should do, or we should do without Shastra, because if you do without Shastra, then indirectly we promote these people, because they can quote anything without Shastra.
No, that's what I mean. Prabhupada says, there are those people that don't believe in scriptures. For them, what will you do? Even if you quote scripture, you say, I don't believe. Then they resort to logic.
We should not waste our time with it.
Either you don't waste your time, walk away, that's best. But either if you're trapped, if you're going in a train, at least, see, if you don't want to study, I'm not propagating you to study. But Prabhupada said, so I'm just quoting, if you don't want to study, don't study. But there are books, if you should be well versed in those things, if for your safety, a devotee should not be, dull. And then you say, no, it's not Krishna consciousness. So you should know, even if you quote scripture, he said, I don't believe in Gita and Bhagavatam. What are you going to do? Then you should resort to logic. Though you don't argue and fight, simply if you know, okay, you said this, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that Buddhist said, all the 9 points he defeated. Buddhist says, there is destruction. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, if there is a destruction, there must be a creation. Without creation, how come destruction comes? How come something? So my only point is, if you are there, if you can walk away, fine. That's very good. Why to put the stone in a filthy place and take a little bit? But at least we should be prepared for ourselves and we should be very thorough in those subject matter if you want. So if somebody by chance asks, so sometimes people ask very weird question. And every time if you like, for example, one devotee was distributing books. So one people came, he said, "Hey, see, your God is playing with girls." Yeah, chichi, what kind of God is this? So what will you say? No, no, they are devotees. They are energies of the Lord. So क्या समझ आ रहा? कुछ नहीं समझ आ रहा. So that devotees told me, is these girls which Lord is playing, is there is someone which you know them? No, no. So keep quiet. So that if he said, you first know about the Lord, then I'll give you a mic and then you speak. If you don't know, don't speak. How can you comment on person you don't know? So devotee answered him like this. He kept quiet. He said, I don't know you. If I say you are this, dash, 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 what will you do? You'll say no. Your friend will say no, he's not like that. So therefore we are saying, first learn about Krishna, then I'll give you a mic and the dais, speak whatever you want to speak after your learning. Then you see what you will say. We will not say because we have so much convincing philosophy. Prabhupada says in one of the lecture also that this Krishna consciousness is not a dogma. We have everything. Or the Bhagavatas, Prabhupada writes, the devotees of the Lord, everything they put in logic and argument. But for that, we should know what is logic, what is argument, what is the system of logic, what is system of argument. Anything you cannot call it as an argument. Like once Hridayananda Maharaj was in a college preaching. So one student asked, Hridayananda Maharaj, he argued. The student said, this is my argument. So Hridayananda Maharaj said, do you know what's an argument? Then how can you say a statement and then you give reasons for that? That is called an argument. That's why plain statement you speak. If the argument is what, the fallacy in the argument is just because of the reason. Like we said, there is smoke, therefore there is fire. So through smoke we reason. There is middle term, minor term, and major term. The smoke will be the middle term. The fire to be proven is the major term, and the mountain will be the minor term. So smoke and fire go together. Okay. Like for example, if a laptop is here, I'm not here. So by laptop, you infer whether I'm here or not. So main point, but to infer, this is the reasoning. And this will be the minor term, laptop will be the middle term. And then you have to prove the major term. So when somebody will say, wherever there's smoke and fire goes together, but not everywhere, not in kitchen. Right? So what smoke you see is extinguishing by the rain. So if you know all this, there are 5 kinds of way you can see the fallacies in the argument. Easily you can catch whatever somebody is speaking. I said, this does not make any sense only. People may speak, but you think what you are speaking, which words you are using. I am not telling anybody to study. I am trying to study. I am learning. I just showed Prabhupada, if you also learn, you are all very great. The material, you have good educational background. You can study outside. If somebody comes, a devotee should be well-versed, intelligent, very wonderful. So I tried, I did, but it's a little complicated. So I learned from some lectures only, not independently. So these are lectures I learned. So in case we don't go and argue and put why to waste our time? But somewhere or other, we should be thorough in. So barabar jawab dene ka usko. If you start explaining everything, then kaise ho? That's it is better. Best is we walk away. But there is some situation we cannot avoid that. Then we should be cool and peaceful and then say to that person. Kuch nahi bolega. Okay. So we go to the next verse. Then Parikshit Maharaj asks about, sorry, it's not my instruction. I'm just sharing whatever I learned. So don't take it, Prabhuji said, just I'm sharing. So whatever you want to do, you do. So Prabhupada, now Parikshit Maharaj asked about time in text 17, one more time. All the different duration of creation and ages, okay? He will ask. And again in text 17 about the science of God also, regarding his incarnation on earth. This is Ishanukata, text 17. Yugani yugamanam cha dharmo yascha yuge yuge avataranu charitam yadascharyaatmam harehe
Please explain all the different ages in the duration of the creation and also the duration of such ages. Also tell me about the different activities of the different incarnations of the Lord in different ages.
Yes, so about time, first line, second line about the Lord's different avatars and everything is Ishanu Katha. Okay, can somebody read Prabhupada's first line, first paragraph? First means up to Sukdev Goswami. Lord Krishna is the original personality up to Sukdev Goswami. Can somebody read?
Lord Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, and all the incarnations of the Supreme Lord, although non-different from him, are emanations from the Supreme. Maharaj Parikshit inquired from the great and learned sage Sukdev Goswami about the different activities of such incarnations so that the incarnation of the Lord might be confirmed by his activities in the authoritative scriptures. Maharaj Parikshit was not to be carried away by the sentiments of the common man to accept an incarnation of the Lord very cheaply. Instead, he wished to accept the incarnation of the Lord by symptoms mentioned in the Vedic literatures and confirmed by an acharya like Sukdev Goswami.
Yeah, so any person cannot become Supreme Lord. Is about him is should be mentioned in the scriptures. So that is the main point. But outside, many people accept many people as Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord does not use, so Supreme Lord's function is here also, it is everywhere. Tade jeti, tanne jeti. Supreme Lord is here also, everywhere in the bathroom also. But can they be? No, they cannot be. So like this. Okay, now text 18. Parikshit Maharaj asks about dharma, religious principle. Okay, Parikshit asks about dharma. What is this comes under Manvantara, religious principles. Nirnam sadharano dharmaha savisheshascha yadrishaha shreninam rajarshinam cha dharma krichreshu jivatam.
Please also explain what may generally be the common religious affiliation of human beings, as well as their specific occupational duties in religion, the classification of the social orders, including the administrative, royal orders, and the religious principles for one who may be in distress.
Yeah, so dharma is of three definition of dharma. One is the ontological, one is the theological, one is the social. So ontological means Jivere Swarupai Krishna Nityadas, the nature of dharma. What is of living entity is a servant. Then theological means Dharman tu Shakshat Bhagavat Pranitam. And social means Varnashram Dharma, the duties of Varna, the duties of Ashrama. So by this is body-based religion, Varnashram, because they identify with Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya. So using that dharma, by following the theological or the like scriptures, Dharmantu Shakshat Bhagavat Parinitam, those scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, using this body-based dharma or Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya duties, following the theological dharma, then you come to the point as we are servant of Krishna. So there are three definitions of dharma. So you can find everywhere if you open Prabhupada's purports, books, you'll find only these three definitions. But dharma does not have any English equivalent. So there are three defined. Even Vishwanath Thakur says about. So Jivere Swarupai Krishna Itnan, that is the dharma of bhakti. Then he says the duties about that is also dharma of Kshatriya, Vaishya. So Krishna is telling Arjuna also in Gita, you use your Kshatriya dharma by following my orders, Bhagavad Gita. Then you'll come to understand that I'm not this body, I'm soul, I'm servant of Krishna. Okay. Okay. So you can read somebody's second paragraph from
Religious affiliation.
yes.
Religious affiliation in terms of different countries and cultural circumstances is obviously not the common religion of the human being. Rather, the basic principle is devotional service. Even if particular type of religious principle does not recognize the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the followers still have to obey the disciplinary principles laid down by a particular leader. Such a leader of a religious sect is never the supreme leader, because such a circumstantial leader comes to the position of leadership after undergoing some penance. The supreme personality of Godhead does not, however, require to be under disciplinary action to become a leader, as we see in the activities of Lord Krishna.
Yes, so all these world religious principles and all this, they come under pranamaya, because though they are not based on the duties of a human being, the human life starts from manomaya, duties of Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya. So these religious, like other, like Hindu, Christian, Muslim, because they have, because why somebody will call a Hindu, because I'm involved. Hinduism is great. Christian will call, because all the isms will come under pranamaya, all the world religions, not on annamaya, because they are involved. This and pranamaya means extended senses, because you are involved. So how the religions are developed, world religions, they are developed from 6 systems of Vedic philosophy. So you will find in the book by Bhaktivinoda Thakur called Tattva Vivek. So there he gives how these world religions are developed. If you read those, it's there. From there he starts. First he defines everything nicely, development of world religions and their philosophies. So it's there. So 6 systems of Vedic philosophy, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Patanjali, Yoga. By this, so we take their system, but we don't take their conclusions. Their conclusions are all atheistic. So, but we take their system. Jiva Goswami used the Nyaya systems of Samavaya and Samayog in Bhagavad Sandarbha. So even this Vaisheshika system also Jiva Goswami used in Bhagavad Sandarbha. Even the Sankhya we take, but we don't take the conclusions. They take up to that Sankhya philosophy says that material nature is a source of everything, but we say beyond material nature is the Supreme Lord. Okay, so it's all developed from there, these things. Okay, text 19. Tatvanam parisankhyanam lakshanam hetu lakshanam purusharadhana vidhir yogasyadhyatmikasya cha.
Kindly explain all about the elementary principles of creation, the number of such elementary principles, their causes and their development, and also process of devotional service and the method of mystic power.
Yes, so this is saying elementary. This falls under sarga. So this verse fall under sarga creation. He wants you to know how the elements, number of such elementary principles, the causes and the development is made, how these elements are created. Now, text 20, he wanted to know more about dharma or religious principle. He want to know. So this is what about the Vedic literatures, branches of history, supplementary Puranas, all those things he wanted to know. Okay. So the second verse has the parts of that, like it talks about mystics. It comes under Mukti. The last part of that verse comes on the Vedic scriptures. It comes under Manvantara, Ishanukata and Asharya, the 10th subject of Bhagavatam. Okay, text 20. Yogeshva Raishwarya Gatir Lingabhangastu Yoginam Vedopaveda Dharmanam Itihasa Puranayo.
What are the opulences of the great mystics, and what is their ultimate realization? How does the perfect mystic become detached from the subtle astral body? What is the basic knowledge of Vedic literatures, including the branches of history and the supplementary Puranas?
Yes, so he is asking there, what is the branches of Vedic literatures? So what are like Shruti, Smriti, Nyaya? These are branches of Vedic literature. So there are many sub branches also. All this thing he wanted to know. Okay. So see, Prabhupada writes, can somebody read the last paragraph? Maharaj Parikshit inquired.
Maharaj Parikshit inquired from the learned Brahmana Shukadev Goswami about the ultimate destination of such great mystics, or how they attain such extraordinary powers by their own efforts or by the grace of the Lord. He inquired also about their detachment from the subtle and gross material bodies. He inquired also about the purports of the Vedic knowledge. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 15.15, the whole purport of all the Vedas is to know the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus become transcendental loving servant of the Lord.
Yes. So purpose of the Vedas is to know the Supreme Lord. So Vedas have to, if to ascertain the Vedas, there are 5 stages of Vedic knowledge. Pratyaksha, Paroksha, Aparoksha, and Apratyaksha, Paroksha, Aparoksha, Adoksha, and Aprakrit. Pratyaksha means this is the how you can certitude. Vedic knowledge is self-evident, but still, if you want, this is from Prabhupada lecture. So if you, so how Prabhupada says Pratyaksha means seeing knowledge through the senses. When you see a devotee, his behavior, his saintly behavior, so that way you want to desire to learn from him. Then paroksha means through knowledge through another senses. Then you start taking knowledge from that devotee. You learn from his senses. Okay, and he's of course he's going to speak scripture. So knowledge from other senses. Example that if you are in the different country, okay, then you phone a friend who is in another country and tell him where the sun. He'll say, so you see the sun through his eyes. So like this, knowledge through another senses. Then there is called aparoksha. Aparoksha is direct knowledge which is realized, heard from authority, and you realize in yourself. That is called direct knowledge. Aparoksha. Then practicing in your life, that is called aparoksha. And adoksha means revealed knowledge. By practicing, hearing from authorities, repeating their words, putting in their life, putting in our life, then this knowledge becomes revealed to us. And aparakrita means spiritual knowledge. Then all the knowledge born from the senses get defeated. Then then the spiritual knowledge is there. This is the 5th stage. So this way, this is the 5 stages of Vedic knowledge. So then at the 5th stage, there is like how Brahmaji got the vision of Vaikuntha. The Jiva Goswami says in Sri Tattva Sandarbha, this is called Divya Pratyaksha, the Pratyaksha of the wise. By using the same senses, you can become by hearing, by going to these 5 stages, purifying your consciousness. Then this, after coming to the 5th stage, this knowledge becomes revealed to that pure devotee. So he practically sees, like Brahmaji got to see the Vaikuntha. So this is called Divya Pratyaksha. In Bhagavad Gita also it is there, 9.2. Raj Vidya Raj Guhyam Pavitram Idamuttamam Pratyaksha, which can easily be perceivable. So it is called Divya Pratyaksha. Okay. Okay, so we go in text 21. So text 21 also Parikshit Maharaj inquires about living entities. 21 and 22. Plus in text 21 about religious principles, about dharma. Okay. So he will speak. So about that in text 21, he speaks about how the living entities are generated. It comes under visarga. How Brahma generates the living entity here. So it's visarga. So okay, this is one of the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam. And again, how the universe is maintained. It is sthana by Vishnu, and how the universe is annihilated. That is nirodha. And winding up of all his energies. He will ask in text 21. Plus, he will ask about dharma, about religious principles. So we discussed there are 3 definitions of dharma: ontology, theology, and social. Okay. Ontology is living entity as servant of Krishna. Theological means dharma to Shakshat Bhagavat, the dharma that is coming from the Lord, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. And social means Varnashram Dharma, the duties of Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya. Okay, all this thing. Okay, so let's see text 21. Samplava sarva bhutanam vikrama pratishankramaha ishtapurtasya kamyanam trivargasya cha yo vidhi. Okay.
Please explain unto me how the living beings are generated, how they are maintained, and how they are annihilated. Tell me also of the advantages and disadvantages of discharging devotional service unto the Lord. What are the Vedic rituals and injunctions of the supplementary Vedic rites? And what are the procedures of religion, economic development, and sense satisfaction?
So then this advantages and disadvantages of devotional service comes under portion. Why? How are this disadvantages comes under portion? When the Lord takes away, if devotee is practicing devotional service, the Lord takes away the devotee's opulence. In that way, in that sense, it is called disadvantages. So in that way, it is the Lord is making that devotee surrender to Him more. Okay. So text 21. He talks text 21 he again. Sorry, text 22. Again, he talks about living entities. So we'll go to text 22 about living entities. How that is? No, Parikshit Maharaj is asking what are the advantages and disadvantages of devotional service. So there are no such disadvantages. Okay. But in disadvantages in that sense, when devotee loses all his opulences, other than what disadvantage is that? But that is also not disadvantage. But in that sense, it is spoken. So what are the then why Parikshit Maharaj is asking that? Means disadvantage in the sense the devotee loses the opulence. What happens? So it's like Lord, in that way also Lord makes the devotee comes towards him. That Prabhupada, he's gone. So Prabhupada quoted one verse, no? Hari Shay Tad Dhanam Shay. So in which angle he's speaking? That is no. Then he talks about text 22 about living entities. How living entities are generated in this. So this is Visarga. Yovanushayinam sargah Pashandasya cha sambhavah Atmano bandha mokshau cha Vyavasthanam swarupatah.
Please also explain how merged in the body of the Lord living beings are created and how the infidels appear in the world. Also, please explain how the unconditioned living entities exist.
Yes, so God, this is Visarga. Can somebody read the purport?
The progressive devotee of the Lord must inquire from the bona fide spiritual master how living entities merged in the body of the Lord again come back at a time of creation. There are two kinds of living entities. There are the ever liberated unconditioned living beings as well as ever conditioned living beings. Of the ever conditioned living beings, there are two divisions. They are the faithful and the infidel. Of the faithful, there are again two divisions, namely the devotees and the mental speculators. The mental speculators desire to merge in the existence of the Lord or to become one with the Lord, whereas the devotees of the Lord desire to keep separate identities and constantly engage in the service of the Lord. The devotees who are not fully purified, as well as empiric philosophers, become conditioned again during the next creation for further purification. Such conditioned souls become liberated by further progress of devotional service to the Lord. Maharaj Parikshit asked all these questions from the bona fide spiritual master in order to become fully equipped in the science of God.
Yeah, so science of God includes the knowledge of material world and the knowledge of the living entity. So that is complete science of God. Okay, text 23. Yathatmatantro Bhagavan Vikridyati Atma Mayaya Vrisijyava Yatha Mayam Udaste Shakshivat Vibhu.
The independent personality of Godhead enjoys his pastimes by his internal potency, and at the time of annihilation gives them up to the external potency, and he remains a witness to it all.
Yes. So he remains as a witness, as a super soul. Somebody read the purport.
Lord Sri Krishna, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead and fountainhead of all other incarnations, is the only independent person. He enjoys his pastimes by creation as he desires and gives them up to the external energy at the time of annihilation. By his internal potency only, he kills the demon Putna, even though enjoying his pastimes in the lap of his mother Yasoda. And when he desires to leave this world, he creates the pastimes of killing his own family members, Yadukul, and remains unaffected by such annihilation. He is the witness of everything that is happening, and yet he has nothing to do with anything. He is independent in every respect. Maharaj Pariksit desired to know more perfectly, for a pure devotee ought to know well.
Yes. Okay, now text 24. Sarvame tacha bhagavan pritchato me nupurvashaha tattore udharatam prapannaya mahamune.
O great sage, representative of the Lord, kindly satisfy my inquisitiveness in all that I have inquired from you, and all that I may not have inquired from you from the very beginning of my questionings. Since I am a soul surrendered unto you, please impart full knowledge in this connection.
So he's asking, like, surrendered. So he wanted to know the answer. So Prabhupada writes in the purport. Somebody read the purport?
The spiritual master is always prepared to impart knowledge to the disciple, and specifically when the disciple is very inquisitive. Inquisitiveness on the part of a disciple is greatly necessary for the progressive disciple. Maharaj Parikshit is a typical disciple because he is perfectly inquisitive. If one is not very inquisitive about self-realization, one need not approach a spiritual master simply to make a show of discipleship. Not only is Maharaj Parikshit inquisitive concerning all he has inquired about, but he is also anxious to know about what he has not been able to inquire. Factually, it is not possible for a man to inquire about everything from the spiritual master. But the bona fide spiritual master is able to enlighten the disciple in every way for the disciple's benefit.
Yes. So one should be very inquisitive. If somebody is not inquisitive, then even the teacher will not able to teach. Only like there is a slok in Sanskrit that 25% you learn from a teacher, 25% you learn by asking question, 25% by going home and reading, and 25% by due course of time by reading, repeating, you learn. So 75% is up to the student only. So even in Manusmriti, there is a section called protection of knowledge. So one should not explain this to anybody who is not asking properly, who's not ready to do any seva, who's not, where the respect is not, because in such people, even if you speak, they'll not able to hear, they'll not able to understand. Okay, so and who is asking improperly, and then where while teaching, he's not respecting the teacher. But such kind of person, if you, it's like a barren land, even if you put something, it will not come. So this in Manusmriti chapter 2 verse, it starts with 110, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So there it is, talks about. So better it is said, rather a Brahmana should die with the knowledge, rather explaining to, they may misuse it. To an student was not qualified. So Parikshit Maharaj was qualified as a student. Sukdev Goswami was qualified as a teacher. So both, and then the Krishna Katha becomes very, so even the hearer should be inquisitive to hear about the Lord, and the speaker should be inquisitive to speak about the Lord. That is there. So there are references. And to approach the Vedic literature, one should be very sense control. Because the Veda is a mother, she's a chaste lady. So one is practicing a sadhana, following the principle, does this knowledge get revealed? Otherwise, if you see if somebody is not following, then this knowledge get covered. The lust covers 3 kinds of covering. In that commentary in Bhagavad Gita chapter 3, Baldev Vidyabhushan, in that verse commentary, Dhurnevata Vaharnir, the 3 types of covering the lust does. So there is a 3 types of knowledge which is covered. The knowledge in goodness, passion, and ignorance. In ignorance, the knowledge is people don't know. In goodness, at least he'll have some knowledge. Like this. Okay. So text 25. Atra paramanam hi bhavan परमेष्ठी यतात्म भूः अपरे चानुतिष्ठन्ति पूर्वेषां पूर्वजय कृतम्.
O great sage, you are as good as Brahma, the original living being. Others follow custom only, as followed by previous philosophical speculators.
Okay, now from verses 24 to 26, he glorifies the process of hearing and his Gurudev Sukhdev Goswami. Okay, Parikshit Maharaj, 24 to 20, 24 to 26. Okay, so can somebody read the purport? First paragraph.
It may be argued that Sukadev Goswami is not the only authority of perfect knowledge in transcendency, because there are many other sages and their followers. Contemporary to Vyasadeva, or even prior to him, there were many other great sages, such as Gautama, Kannada, Jaimini, Kapila, and Ashtavakra, and all of them have presented a philosophical path by themselves. Patanjali is also one of them, and all these six great rishis have their own way of thinking, exactly like the modern philosophers and mental speculators. The difference between the six philosophical paths put forward by the renowned sages mentioned above and the path of Sukadeva Goswami as presented in the Srimad Bhagavatam is that all the six sages mentioned above speak the facts according to their own thinking, but Sukadeva Goswami presents the knowledge which comes down directly from Brahmaji, who is known as Atmabhu, or born of and educated by the Almighty Personality of Godhead.
Yes, so intelligent person, Prabhupada writes in the last line, intelligent person like Maharaj Parikshit do not recognize such mental speculators, however great they may be, but hear from the authorities like Sukhdev Goswami and Acharya, who is non-different from the Supreme Personal Godhead by the Parampara system, especially stressed in Bhagavad Gita. Okay, now text number 26. So 29 verse, this chapter is over today. Name swaha parayanti Brahman anasanadami Pibatochuta piyusham Tadvakya dibhi vinhirshitam.
O learned Brahman, because of my drinking the nectar of the message of the infallible personality of Godhead, which is flowing down from the ocean of your speeches, I do not feel any sort of exhaustion due to my fasting.
Okay. Okay, so we go to text now from text 27 to 29. So Sutta Goswami, Sukhdev Goswami himself replies as then Sutta Goswami describes this in verse 27 and 27. Sukhdev Goswami is replying to Maharaj Parikshit. Now Sutta Goswami is explaining what he has replied. Sutta Uvacha Sa Upamantrito Ragya Kathayam iti Satpatehe Brahmarato Brisham Prito Vishnuratena Samshadi.
Suta Goswami said, thus Sukhdev Goswami, being invited by Maharaj Parikshit to speak on topics of the Lord Shri Krishna with the devotees, was very much pleased.
Yes. Can you read the purport, first paragraph?
Srimad Bhagavatam can be legitimately discussed only among the devotees of the Lord, as the Bhagavad Gita was authoritatively discussed between Lord Krishna and Arjuna, the Lord and the devotee respectively. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the postgraduate study of the Bhagavad Gita, can also be discussed between the scholar and devotee like Sukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit. Otherwise, the real taste of the nectar cannot be relished. Sukdev Goswami was pleased with Maharaj Parikshit because he was not at all not at all tired of hearing the topics of the Lord, and was more and more anxious to hear them on with interest. foolish interprets unnecessary tackles the Bhagavad Gita and Shrimad Bhagavatam when they have no access to the subject matter. There is no use of non-devotees meddling with the two topmost Vedic literature, and therefore Shankaracharya did not touch Shrimad Bhagavatam for commentation. In his commentation on the Bhagavad Gita, Sripad Shankaracharya accepted Lord Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead, but later on he commented from the impersonalist view. But being conscious of his position, he did not comment on the Shrimad Bhagavatam.
Okay. So it should be heard from devotees. Text 28. Praha Bhagavatam Nama Purana Brahma Samhitam Brahmane Bhagavat Proktam Brahmakalpa Upagate.
He began to reply to the inquiries of Maharaj Parikshit by saying that the science of the personality of Godhead was spoken first by the Lord himself to Brahma when he was first born. Srimad Bhagavatam is a supplementary Vedic literature, and it is just in pursuance of the Vedas.
Yes. So it was spoken to Brahma in the first day of Brahma, which is called Brahmakalpa by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Okay, read purport.
Srimad Bhagavatam is the science of the personality of Godhead. The impersonalist always tries to misrepresent the personal feature of the Lord, not knowing the science of this great knowledge. And Srimad Bhagavatam is in pursuance of the Vedas and scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead. To learn this science, one should take shelter of the representative of Sri Sukdeva and follow in the footsteps of Maharaj Parikshit without foolishly attempting to interpret, thereby committing a great offense at the feet of the Lord. The dangerous ways of interpretations by the non-devotees class of men have played havoc in the understanding of understanding the Srimad Bhagavatam. And the careful student should be always alert in this matter if he at all wants to learn the science of Godhead.
Yes. So the non-interpretation by non-devotees, they create a lot of havoc. People have not become devotee, but by Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, by Prabhupada translation, many people became devotee. Text 29, this is the last verse, and the chapter is over. Yad yad parikshit rishabah Pandunam anuprichhati Anupurvena tatsarvam Akhyatum upachakrame.
He also prepared himself to reply to all that King Parikshit had inquired from him. Maharaj Parikshit was the best in the dynasty of the Pandus, and thus he was able to ask the right questions from the right person.
Read the purport.
Maharaj Parikshit asked many questions, some of them very curiously, to know things as they are. But it is not necessary for the master to answer them in the order of the disciples' inquiries, one after the other. But Shukdev Goswami, experienced teacher that he was, answered all the questions in a systematic way, as they were received from the chain of disciplic succession. And he answered all of them without exception.
Right. Then he answers in chapter 9, like he got opportunity to speak Chatushloki, and then chapter 10, 10 topics of Bhagavatam, and later he elaborated those in further cantos. Okay. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.